Okay, everybody. Hello, fellow podcast streamers.
Hello.
Ah, yes,
Good.
the audio works. Yes. Two times in a row. Two times in a row. I'm Brian. Welcome to the BreakSec podcast stream. Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin are with me today. We have a special friend right down there for me, Ms. Bat. Welcome, Ms. Bat.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Everybody's battening down the hatches here for nasty weather in SoCal. The wind has started. We're supposed to get another 3 to 4 inches of rain over the next 5 days. The Grammys are being rained out, apparently. Pebble Beach got, rain, which is almost unheard of. Hope y'all are doing okay and safe and dry.
I feel like you can't complain about weather in San Diego.
So you say when it's sunny and 65, yes. When it's rainy and 42, no. That's not the weather I signed up for in Southern California. But yeah, hope y'all are safe and dry and warm and yeah, two out of three ain't bad, I guess. So we've got Ms. Bat on this week because I don't know how to put this not bluntly, but something's fucked with hiring in infosec. It has been for a few years.
Do we have one of the bleepers? You just dropped an F-bomb. Usually that's
I'm sorry.
Job.
Something's bleeped in. I'll fix it in post. Sorry, my bad. My bad. I do have this set for not adults or not adults, not kids. My bad.
No adults allowed, people.
No adults allowed, only kids. And so yeah, there's. I don't want to say I think it started back, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, but there's always been these stories about talent shortages and 4 million unfilled jobs. Oh my goodness, thank you, Digital Warhead, appreciate you, man. Awesome, thank you, sir. Unfulfilled talent. And I've been to DerbyCon, I went to DefendCon up in Seattle, and anytime that Ms. Bat would run her career workshops or what have you, career villages at conferences, I was like, yeah, I want to help out either, as somebody who's reviewing resumes, which, goes over fairly well. I think people are mostly happy with that, but it's a good resource for people. But my problem with, and this is not a critique of Ms. Bat in any way, but my problem is if we have to teach people how to write a resume so they can get hired, the system is broken. We have to hack our own resumes so that they'll pass some kind of HR weasel, and they are weasels, to get a job. So something's broke, and I think it's a systemic breaking problem. I think that's what we're here for this week. Ms. Bat, thank you again for coming and taking your time on a Sunday night. If you were meant to watch the Grammys, I'm sorry. I'm hoping you're recording it. I heard Tracy Chapman killed, yeah, very, very cool. So for those people who are unaware of who you are, maybe we could tell them who you are and what you do, and how'd you get into infosec?
I have a long, convoluted career that started. My master's is in art. I have a MFA in new media theory, and I was recruited right out of grad school by Apple. So just we'll fast forward Apple to startups to learning Perl to all the things to eventually landing at NASA, securing instrument and ground systems, so lasers, cryogenics, optics, and some of the Hubble systems, and then getting an appointment with the Obama administration in 18F. So I ended up doing cybersecurity and infrastructure with the federal government, left there to go do private sector work. And so I've been doing some form of security work for about 18 years, but we didn't always call it security. We used to call it like QA engineering or analyst. So, like a generic word, or, engineering just generically, but we were doing SQL injections, like breaking things, but we didn't really start calling it like security. I don't feel like till maybe midway through my career. It was actually just randomly when one of the startups I worked for got acquired. We got a new CTO, and he re-interviewed all the engineers to ask us what we did. And I said I was a QA engineer. And he asked what I did, and I basically described like malware analysis and SQL injections and breaking into web forms for government websites. And he was like, okay, so you are a security analyst or a security engineer. And I was like, okay, cool. And that job title actually changed the whole trajectory of like my career path. So if people tell you job titles don't matter, just like FYI, they do kind of. So
Okay.
Further along in your career now, not so much. It doesn't matter for me. You can just like, I'm cool. Just call me an IT specialist, but I'm operating from a place of privilege now that I didn't used to have. So for now, especially, I digress a little bit here, but it is kind of important for this like job search career conversation, like early to mid-career folks, like job titles are important because they do absolutely determine like where recruiters are going to look for jobs for you and where they're going to try to place you into roles. And I mean like external recruiters, but also big companies have internal recruiters too. So job titles matter. That's my soapbox about that.
Very cool.
So that's how I ended up where I'm at. And then, so as Brian mentioned, one of the things I do for just volunteer work in the community at security conferences is run career villages, just doing resume reviews and fake interviews, really just like practice interviewing people, either like technical interviews or just sort of general interviews. And a component I added a few years ago, actually at DerbyCon, one of the last couple DerbyCons, I started adding an option for folks for culture fit interviews, because that's a thing that's been added more recently at companies. And a lot of folks who are like mid to senior level who are, either changing careers or interviewing for job shifts it's a newer thing for those folks. Like they hadn't really been asked about the importance of diversity on teams or things they've done to mentor folks from underrepresented communities in the workspace. And it could, kind of blindside you if you're being asked questions like that you hadn't been asked before. So I've been bringing those kind of things to security conferences, and then giving like just a packet of sample tech questions or sample culture fit questions to folks. I don't know. That was like a lot of talking. Did I answer the questions?
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I think what you're doing is very valuable, because I also think that there's some folks out there that don't interview well, and I don't know if it's because of some of our predilections to having people who have, like myself, who have ADHD or squirrel, or have trouble focusing, or it's like you should answer the question, not answer the question and the way you think it should be done, or ask questions back. A lot of times, I've gotten a lot out of the resume reviews, not just from giving the being the person who's asking the questions, interviewing, but also taking that feedback back. And one of the things that I found valuable was you sometimes need to ask clarification questions when somebody asks you a question, because you go in one direction and they're expecting another direction, and then you don't get those kinds of things. But I found your villages to be very helpful, both from somebody helping with the hiring and someone who needs to be hiring. So you were the first person I thought of when we were wanting to do some of this. So and full disclosure, you're currently in the job hunt yourself, so you're kind of having to deal with the bullshittery out there that is going on with all of this stuff. Ish, right?
Say I'm actively
right.
But again, I'm sitting in a slightly different place of privilege. I'm trying to understand. There's a question in the chat. Can you ask about requirements for entry positions for people who are trying to get in the field and how intimidating it is?
Yeah.
So Can you just, in the chat, I see the question, can you just elaborate a little more on that so that I just understand a little bit more about what you're asking? Are you asking me, or are you asking if it's okay to ask about the requirements? So, and the thing I just did just then was ask a clarifying question. And
Ding,
so
ding, ding, ding.
do that in your interviews too.
Yeah.
Another trick I like to do in interviews, and also it works on your significant other too, to help with arguments.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me write this one down here.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is to do the, what I think I heard you say, right? So that you're double checking, right? It's like reflecting back, you're mirroring. So like, what I think I heard you say, or what I think you're asking me is, you know, which port I would open if this were the outcome I wanted.
Right.
And then they can, right, they'll tell you like, oh no, that wasn't what I was saying. Because if you jump to the answer, but that wasn't exactly what they were asking, then you got a wrong answer.
Right.
Right. So you put the onus back on them, because if you don't think you understand the question, it's okay to like double check that you understand the question.
Right.
So as soon as that question's clarified, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I just got that in a leadership training the other day. You know, like the playback, you're supposed even on one-on-ones, you know, not necessarily
playback's a good
interviews, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for a little context for Cybercoster, he came, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's he, came on Friday. We were talking about all kinds of stuff. I was trying to get some Rust framework stuff to work, and Cybercoster came on, looking to try to break into infosec. And there was, looking for jobs like, SOC analysts and what have you. And I turned him on to a link to Cognizant, which Mr. Betcher and I know a little bit of something about Cognizant. As a junior SOC position, and Cybercoster's in Canada, which unfortunately the job wouldn't work for Cyber because they're in Canada and they needed a U.S. only person. But some of the questions I think Cyber asked during the Friday stream was, are there any kind of specific requirements for entry level positions? So I think it's like, in that case, it's like, what kind of background do you need, or what are some of the minimum requirements for certain types of jobs? And Cyber, if that's the wrong answer or anything, please feel free to type faster, or just tell me I'm wrong there. So.
Okay, now that you said that, now I understand. So maybe. Okay, so that makes more sense. You're just asking about the requirements for entry level positions to get into the field. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, so one of the things that I like to tell people in the resume workshops, because we get students come in a lot too, is, cybersecurity in itself is a huge field now. It used to be that like the IT guy just kind of knew all the things, right? He knew how to set up the firewall, do the backups, run the scans, handle the MDM, right? Run Symantec or McAfee or whatever, set up the rules. Like the IT guy just did it all.
Right.
I'm sorry, I have to say guy, but person, but you know what I mean? But now we've got threat modeling and the malware engineers and the, sec DevOps people. And like one person doesn't do it all anymore because each specialty has become so complex. So when the students come in and they talk about these minimum requirements for entry level, and I'm like, well, what specialty? Like you should probably think about doing a little research about kind of the different areas of cybersecurity, right? Because even blue team, red team, purple team, like all the teams. And so, what I think is maybe a good starting point is to just go out on like Monster or Glassdoor or wherever and start looking at job descriptions for like internships and look at the ones that look interesting to you, and then see what their requirements are and maybe start there. Like, what kind of classes are they looking for? What kind of coursework are they expecting you to have? Like, that's kind of a good starting point, because you can't really, all right, this is the part where it looks like I collect crystals, and like, that's not a diss on people who collect crystals. Like, you can't really manifest like the job that you want until you like really understand what it is you're looking for. You know,
Right.
you can't pull the thing out of thin air. You really, like security research, like research is the key word. You really do have to research the field. Like it's kind of like saying, I want to be a doctor. Okay. Well, do you want to be a neurologist, a cardiologist, an ophthalmologist, an orthopedic surgeon? Like it's a broad field. Like one doctor doesn't do all the things. So you kind of have to figure out which specialty. Now there's some general things, right? You could go study for Sec Plus, go watch all the videos on YouTube to just get a general understanding of all the sort of subject areas in the Sec Plus exam. That's a great place to start for a general overview.
Right.
But you know, lots of different areas there to kind of dive into and pick a specialty. I don't know. That's sort of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Sec Plus those, I think, kind of a good foundational material for just, and the Sec Plus exam is kind of a fundamental basic exam, at least in the US, for pretty much any security job with the federal government here. It's going to be a requirement.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely. Looking at job descriptions, I think are great. I want to come back to some of the job descriptions at the end, Kira, because I posted one in the Slack chat, or not Slack chat, the Zoom chat there, about one that I lambasted pretty hard with regards to the associate SOC for a small mom and pop company called the National Football League that is paying crap for not an associate level position. And so job descriptions are a problem that I really see as being an our problem, that we need, the folks who are currently working at those companies, you know, need to go in and go, I don't do any of this shit. We need to fix this. This isn't realistic. We're looking for unicorns. We're not going to find them. We need somebody who can do firewalls. We don't need somebody, a Linux administrator who knows Windows 2035, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's why I say it's a systemic issue. It's the job descriptions. It's the people at the companies who, you know, want to, you know, drop their e-peen on the table and go, look how much I know. I'm going to make sure that you don't get hired because, you know, if you even screw up one thing, I'm going to, you know, make it look like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Managers who don't know how to hire, recruiters who are just throwing shit at the wall and hoping that, you know, their commission check clears before they find out that they hired the wrong person, that kind of stuff. It's just all messed up for me. And I'm seeing a lot of that regardless here, and the ghosting and just how we do the engagements altogether. So that's my rant.
Do you agree, Brian, that you can tell a lot about a company just by the way they write their job descriptions?
Yes.
Oh,
you kind of just weed out companies by crappy job descriptions. Like if they're asking for like 20 years experience with AI for like a mid-level position right now, like I don't know. And you can just pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my pieces of advice that I try and give people, and this is probably just because this is how I got into my career, is you could always tell people that just went out of college, out of high school into college, into a security program and wanted a job when they got out of college. I don't know. It probably depends on the college. So many of them don't give you enough foundational knowledge to be able to do a security job, even if you have your security degree.
Right.
So many people that think I'm going to get a pen testing internship, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that, but they have no idea like the difference between a public and a private IP address, or they have no concept on how authentication works in an Active Directory domain, or you know, they wouldn't be able to tell you how to log into an Azure instance. Like there's so many different, like going back to like trying to research the different kinds of jobs that you can get in security. There's just so much that I think foundationally a lot of people don't know that can give you the upper hand, right? Like if you get a help desk job or, I mean, I don't know that Best Buy Geek Squad's still a thing, but
It
you know,
is.
there's
It
help
is.
desks, there's
Yep.
help desks everywhere, and there are just I think that can really, really help sometimes if you're trying to get that entry level job.
Right.
Yeah, any opportunities if you take college as a route to get even an associate's degree or trade school, any of that, any opportunity to work
Yep.
their help desk for your student job or your student aid
Yes.
job or whatever,
Right.
that as a hiring manager for me, that is absolutely experience. Just
Yeah.
anything that got hands on keyboard, even if it was doing like the help desk in the library or whatever, that all counts.
Yes.
That's all really good stuff.
Yeah. I
Right.
knew people that were helping at like local libraries too, not just even school
Yeah,
libraries.
and that's like volunteer work. You can
Yes.
volunteer to help with IT at the local library, and that's all totally valid experience. I love it.
Yep.
The thing that I'm really uh, aggravated, like I'm trying so hard not to swear, like, but the aggravation I'm having lately is the entry level security positions that are requiring CISSPs. Like if we just thrown the whole, like you have to have 5 years documented experience in management to even take the CISSP,
Right.
like where, how, I just all right, cool. I mean, I know that people are, hackers gonna hack and take the CISSP, like they're finding loopholes to take it, but like, is that what we're doing now? Like, I'm just the Oprah Winfrey meme. You get a CISSP. Like, all right.
Yeah. So to Cybercoster's point there, do you need a bachelor's degree in a field? A lot of these job descriptions are like you said, need a CISSP, need a CISSP, need a bachelor's degree, need these things. And I am one of those people where I wouldn't apply for a job unless I hit all those bullets, which sucks for me because it took me about 15 years to realize that nobody ever hits all those bullets. So I have passed on several jobs because I don't have a master's degree in this or whatever. So I got a CISP because that was one of the things that I could check off on a job description. I got a bachelor's degree, so I could check that off on the job description. I got other certs like, GCIH, GWAP, those kinds of things, which luckily I was in a privileged enough position to have the companies pay for. But it's hard. Some companies are really like, well, you don't have a bachelor's degree. Not only are we not going to even bring you in for a job interview, we're just going to ghost you. And, you're going to get the hint eventually that, we're not going to call you back. And that goes to the culture, like Ms. Bat had said. Mr. Betcher, why did you get your CISP again? Was it because, where we worked at required it? I was just trying, did you think it was going to help your career as well?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it would. You mentioned it to me and you were like, hey, I can be a sponsor.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, it was just a little nudge in that direction. So I went ahead and did it.
You were envious. I get it. You looked at me. You were like, yeah, I got to be like Brian over there. Yeah, he's got his CISP. He's all big pimping. So yeah, no. I just did it because I figured it would be one less HR hurdle to have to deal with. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some companies that are going to want all of those bullet points. And again, that comes down to job descriptions and how realistic they are. Do we actually need a CISP here? Do you need a GWAP or GCIH? Kind of thing. GWAP is not a song, Info Sister.
I got the GISP. It's like the Aldi version of the
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
But the feds accepted it as an acceptable substitute.
Well, I got mine also. Yeah, I got mine because government contractor at the time required you to have a specific DoD certification, and it was like you could get the NSA IAM certification, like Information Assurance Manager thing, or you could get your CISSP. And I was like, I can use the CISSP outside in the real world instead of staying. What if I don't always stay in the government space? I'm going to be wasting my time with some DoD certification. And thankfully, I picked the right one here. But yes, Bill, we realize you got an OSCP and your Security Plus. Your Security Plus is probably more valuable to a lot of companies than the OSCP. You have to figure out what that is. But it really sucks because there are a lot of job descriptions out there that are really poorly written, or what's worse is they've cribbed from somebody else's who's cribbed from somebody else's. So a lot of these job descriptions, again, don't make a lot of sense. Which is why we have Ms. Bat, helping us write our resumes to make sure that we can get bypass of those things.
So I want to get to one of the questions in here, but you mentioned putting things on our resumes to get past HR. I heard, I cannot remember where I heard this from, but that people were taking the entire job description and copying it and putting it as white text in their uploads on their resume. I don't know if it works. I could see it getting past
So that does
the first level.
So that does not. So the problem with that is it makes things too long. However, to speak to digital warheads thing, so I wouldn't use AI to generate it, because here's the problem: you run into your resume being too long. So the hack for that, though, is to pull out the keywords and then make those white text, use a really small font, and drop them at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
But try to not let your resume run still over 2 pages, right?
Oh, see, you're a 2-page person.
Put it in the footer. You put it in the footer.
You can put it in the footer. Unless you have an 18-year career, I'm a 2-pager. So for me, I mean, I like reluctantly, I'm a 3-pager. The only reason I'm a 3-pager, though, and I'll be really honest with you, is because I've got my 3rd page is broken down with really stupid shit, y'all, like publications, press hits, and stuff that like an organization is going to want to see ways that I could probably bring value to their organization from like business development. But
the 1-page headshot in the beginning count?
I got a glamour shot. I'm just
I do. No, I have my JCPenney shot with whoever I'm applying with in March.
Yes.
I've got my Black Widow, picture where my butt is in.
Yeah, I do the Step Brothers one, really. So
Lord.
I think, what is an ideal resume? So if you're entry level and it's your first job, as a hiring manager, I'm gonna be real suspicious if you hit me with more than 1 page.
Yeah.
That's gonna be real weird for me.
Yeah.
So if you're just starting out, 1 page, right? And that should probably have relevant coursework. If you've participated in any CTS, show me what you're interested in.
Right.
And volunteer work. I don't care if it's not related to security stuff, but like, show me you care about your community. Show me what you're bringing to the table. But if you've had one job, that 1 page, right? And just hit the things that tell me you care about your community, you've taken relevant coursework, right? And I'd love to see that you've done some CTF or something, taken a boot camp, something. If you had a couple jobs, 2 pages, really. If your career has, unless you don't really need to go more than 10 years on your resume. Like, no one cares that you worked at IBM in 1988. Nobody cares, I promise. Like, just unless, and if you work there 20 years, okay, still it is a 2-page resume, right? Do not list the same company like break it down like 6 times. If you worked 6 different jobs at one company, list the company once, and then just break down the 6 jobs. You don't put a whole bunch of bullet points for each job. Like the most recent job is where you want to give the most recent descriptions. The rest of them really just two bullets at most, right? I've got I'm going to give you guys a good, so Hacks for Pancakes.
Yeah.
Will do these career villages with me when they're available too. Did a great vlog post and will tell you all the no-nos for your things to not put in your resumes, because you can do too much. Don't do too much. It's like too much.
Not to segue here, but PancakesCon is on March 24th. So
March 24th, and so
yes.
I'm working on that one with Leslie. So come to that free conference online. It's great. PancakesCon is there. Also, if anyone's watching and wants to sponsor it, I'm handling sponsorships. You can just hit me up at Ms. Bat on Twitter, and we don't need money. We just give us some free stuff that you can give to participants who are going to participate in our CTF.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm gonna send you some challenge coins because I have so many.
That's great. Great. Perfect. Okay, so watch that video. It's a great video telling you how to not mess up your resume. I'm also going to send you, share with you all what I think is actually a really cool blog post. It just has like, it's kind of a cheat code, but it's 50 questions that you're most likely to get in sort of a beginner entry to mid-level security interview if you're interviewing for a security job. So
what's your favorite question? I have a favorite question that I ask entry-level people.
I just like to ask them, what's DNS?
Nice.
Like, just explain to me
that
DNS.
That's how I got my first job.
Right. And then the follow-up is like, so when someone posts like it was DNS with the meme, like, why is that meme funny?
Right.
I don't know. Like, it just kind of tells you it tells you a lot. Did it kind of understand networking, just a fundamental? I don't know. It just seems like a really.
Yeah. Explain to me Bobby Drop Tables meme from XKCD. Why is that a problem? You know.
We could just name the OSI model from top down.
Oh God. I don't think I can. I know what layer 7 is.
All people seem to need data processing.
What's that thing called, the first letter of each thing? There's like
mnemonic.
Yeah. Thing.
All people seem to need data processing.
Yeah.
That's
a mean one. I heard one about pizza. Jake Williams told me one.
Never throw away sausage pizza or something like that. Yeah, it's weird, something like that. Yeah, look, I can Google it there, Bill. Don't you try to, I'm in management now. I don't need to know the OSI model. It's fine.
Exactly. We just need to know when people are wrong about it.
I got people who can tell me that kind of stuff now. So,
But listen, for those of you listening, you want to come to PancakesCon on the 24th. We're also going to have a free CTF. So for those of you who are looking at like entry-level things and you can put stuff on your resume, like, there you go. You can participate in a CTF, get some flags, and put that was like a thing you did.
Right.
Me, I'm here to help. I'm helping.
Yep. I interviewed somebody one time that I was like, this is a god-awful resume. And then I was like, so what do you do in your off time? And he said, well, I do some CTFs and I've got a black badge from DEF CON for winning a CTF. And I was like, where's that in your resume, bruh?
Wait, what?
And he's like,
yeah.
That seems
I was like,
chair.
He's like, oh, I didn't know where to put it. It doesn't fit in any of my job description. I was like, you've always got to save time for accomplishments. Yeah, at the top, DEF CON black badge holder. And it's like,
that goes above education.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, it was eye-opening to me when I moved. I was told to move education to the bottom of my resume.
Yep.
Like, no, you're past that now. You need to move education to the bottom. You put your main accomplishments at top and the skills and things that you've been trained on. No one cares what GPA you got in college.
Yep. And it's antiquated to put that references upon request shit. Take that off
Right.
your resume. No one does that
Yeah.
anymore.
Don't put your GPA on there. You know,
No.
nobody gives a shit. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. Or they shouldn't. They shouldn't care.
So now,
Yeah.
if you decide to apply for a federal job, you do that through USA Jobs anyway, and you have to upload your transcripts and your
Right.
references.
Right.
That's all different anyway. But a private
I
sector
think-
job, they don't ask for that.
If you're right out of college, maybe, because it's a good filler. You could say,
If you need to fill the single page.
right,
Right.
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 Yeah. But if you could leave off the GPA if you graduate like summa cum laude or magna cum
Right.
laude, then just put that and they'll know
Yep.
what
Right.
your GPA was.
Yeah, you have at least a 3.9 or 4.0 or 5.0, I guess now in high school or whatever. But
Just put
yeah.
that a glamour shot with your cord.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually. So one of the other things, because let's go back to the length, right? I've seen people send us a 4-page resume on things, and what I try to stress to people is, no more than say 4 bullets per job. But usually, what I try to tell them, and I don't know if this is incorrect information, but what I've always tried to do is say, how did you bring value to the organization? What did you accomplish? The idea is you're supposed to be writing a resume for the job you want, not the job you already had. In many cases, it's like, show me, if you're looking for a management job or if you're looking for a senior position, show what initiative you did or show what you led, or, if you didn't necessarily lead it, if you can speak to, in the larger sense of how, the project went, or, we did this and this. And, if you can speak to it in generality, I wouldn't say, yes, I led that team if I didn't necessarily lead it. But if you can explain well enough that you feel like you could have led that team, you can say what your individual contributions were to the team, or, you had a group of people that you worked with to make these things done. You need to figure out ways, if you're wanting a senior position, to kind of tailor the job you've had or the previous job to that, to show that you're able to take on senior type roles. So if you've extended yourself in some way, or you were energetic self-starter, what did you do? What did you improve upon at the organization? Am I wrong here? Am I off base on any of this?
No, and I think if you've done something that you're particularly proud of, even as a side project, and you're comfortable sharing your GitHub repo or GitLab repo, like, put that on your resume. I absolutely go look at people's repos if they share. Like, maybe it's you built a little tool that isn't part of your job, but it's a cool little security tool, and you want to share that, like, do that. I like
Right.
the thing that you said, Brian, about sharing an achievement. Even if it's something you might not think is important, but you can think about a way it added value to the company, like, part of a team that successfully migrated, a multi-million-dollar project from AWS commercial to GovCloud, to securely, whatever, meet FSMA requirements and, aid with SOC compliance or whatever. Like,
Right.
if you think about, if it's the company that you're applying to, and it's something you think they're going to want to need to do, then they'll start thinking about ways that you'd bring value to their organization. Like, it's good to start imagining the things you're doing now or the things that you did before, ways that could grow in a new organization,
Right.
and grow in another team. And if you think that you could lead the team that you just did that on, then, I don't know, imagine yourself stepping up, and then
Right.
that's kind of how you step up.
Right.
Like, don't undersell yourself. I have a big spiel on that, like, knowing your worth, especially if you've been laid off recently. Like, don't sell yourself short and just, like, take the next thing that comes along because you're scared because you just got laid off, and then take a 30 or 40% pay cut for the first thing because you're, terrified. Like, I don't know.
I've told people it would be okay to take that job, but keep looking, right?
Like,
You know,
but
if
know your
yeah,
worth. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Because it's going to it's going to help you make rent. If you're still looking for a job and you've been given a job, but it's 30% less, you're got to make rent. You got to make mortgage. You got to pay your bills. So take the job that's going to help you at least pay your bills or be a stopgap. Burning
keep
bridges
looking,
is,
right?
exactly.
And
100%
guess
keep looking.
what? Don't put it on your resume. Like, you don't
Right.
have to, if you take a job for 2 months, don't put that, you just don't put it on
Right.
your resume. Because you
Right.
know what? Employers don't think twice about laying you off or giving you 2 weeks notice. They'll
Right.
just cut you. Like,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
I used to have a very different feeling about that. And don't get me wrong, if I've been with an employer 5 years, I'm not going to cut them. But if you in good faith try to negotiate, try to get closer to the number where you need to be to stay there long term, and they're not willing to budge, but you're getting concerned. I have all kinds of thoughts about negotiations too, but that's probably for another chat. But in this market, you may not be able to negotiate on base salary. Like, your real negotiation power now is probably going to come in RSUs, because the market has really shifted from where we were during the pandemic 2020, 2021. And organizations, corporations, they're really concerned about inflation now too. And so base salaries, I think we're seeing a course correction from the Silicon Valley salaries, may or may not be linked to some of the layoffs of principals now, and they're sort of course correcting with hiring in at lower salaries, but
Right.
negotiating, higher RSUs, bonuses.
Yep.
So do that. You may see reasonably a 30% pay cut, but then negotiate higher RSUs. But if you do that, then negotiate vesting if there's a layoff. That's a whole lot.
When I started at CrowdStrike, one of the things I talked with the CISO then, because it was just me and him and one other guy, because that's how early it was in the org. I said, I want to work there, and they were like, well, how about this price? I was like, man, I was really hoping for 5,000 to 6,000 more, and they're like, we're pretty tight, and I was like, okay, well, I want to have training, so I want a SANS course, so. If you'll give me a SANS course, then we'll call it good. And that was $7,000 at the time, so it's like that's $7,000 you're not paying out of pocket that they're going to give you. Cause he was like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do that. He's like, he's like, whenever you're ready to get that training, that's other things you can look at as not pay. It's like, but make sure you actually take advantage of that training. If they're going to give you a training budget, or, be able to go to a conference without having to pay for it. If you go to a Black Hat, that's what, $1,200, $2,000, whether or not you actually go and watch the talks. But there's other things that are of value that are not necessarily pay. You might even be able to, negotiate more vacation time in some cases. So figure out what your options are, see what, room you have for that. You're absolutely right, Ms. Bab. There's definitely opportunities there.
But SANS has the facilitator program too. My very first certification was through SANS facilitator course. So at that time, I think it's more now, it might be like 1,800 now, but at the time I did it, it was 1,100, and it was like a $7,000, like the GCIH, and I got it for $1,100, and I just had to, fetch somebody soda, twice a day while I was sitting in the boot camp for 6 days. And it was a pretty easy gig, stuffing bags, and got to do the boot camp. So $1,100, that becomes much more affordable. And it came with an exam attempt and 2 practice tests, and I got the cert. And 2 weeks after I brought in my proof of certification to NASA, I got a promotion. So definitely opened some doors for me. But the facilitator program, so look into that. It's, not a bad thing if you can find one in a town where you are, because, obviously if it's out of town, then you're looking at hotel expenses for where the conference is, because they need to be within 15 minutes of the venue.
Yep. Mr. Betcher. You had a comment?
Yeah, most large companies have a training budget, like by default. Most people don't even know it. Most people don't ask. And most managers in those companies, if they know about it, they probably want to keep it close to the vest so they can get training because the budget is limited, right? And the more
Right.
people that know about it, the less, the upper echelon gets. So yeah, definitely ask.
Yeah.
Stick
Yeah,
it to the man with a black hat.
That's right. The only negative I see for that is sometimes you'll have to take your own vacation time to do the trainings, which might suck. But so speaking of the trainings,
There's another negative real quick
go
though
ahead.
too. Sometimes if you leave the company, they make you pay it back. If like sometimes
Right.
they'll
Yeah.
make you
Right.
stay for 6 months or something. Yeah. Okay. Go
Right.
ahead,
That's
Brian.
true. I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's true. One of the other things I was thinking about was, so on resumes, you will see, hey, I've taken a SANS course, or you'll see, I've taken, and I apologize for any of you who might take this personally. You might take Joe Bob Billy's threat analysis course. And it's like, now, there's some courses out there that are really good and are ISO certified or whatever, or you've got the black hat, not the black hat, but the Black Hills folks that are doing the pay what you can stuff, which is amazing. The problem is translating that training into what did you learn, right? I went to Black Hat and I spent $4,000 on, microservices training or whatever. What did you learn? How do you show that you've actually done something with that training? Otherwise, you've what amounts to LobbyCon for $4,000 at Black Hat and didn't squat. I worry about that when people are like, oh yeah, I got this training. Well, okay, how did you take it back and use it at your job? Or how's that going to help you get better at your current job? Should you even put that training at all, right? The SANS stuff, yeah, you want to put that if you've passed the certifications because it's a certification. But so, taking Joe Bob Billy's threat intelligence course, Joe Bob Billy's just off here doing his own thing. I don't know how to make that translate unless it's some kind of ISO certified kind of thing. How do you make that translate?
It was helpful for me just as teaching a class because I got to hire somebody out of that class.
Okay. Okay.
So sometimes you can meet people and find, and I mean, not necessarily that the training itself lended to a real job, but
right.
just
No, I mean, it's great for networking. My thing is the quality there, right? It's like, yeah, you took a SANS course. So this guy's got a SANS course. This person here has Joe Bob Billy's Threat Intel Company. It's like, oh, should we take the guy who took the SANS course or take the person who took Joe Bob Billy's Threat Intelligence course?
Well, that depends. So what I do is if they have a course on their resume, I'm going to ask them about that course. I may ahead of time Google it if I don't know anything about that course, see what it was about, then ask them a question like, okay, what did you learn and how did you apply it to your job, right? What value did you provide to your company by taking the course, and then how did it translate to your job or how you applied that to your company, right? And I've had people that taken 10 SANS courses, right, in their career, one every year for the last 10 years.
And didn't learn anything.
They couldn't answer the most basic question on, and it's like, okay, well, maybe the guy that took Joe Bob Billy's threat intel, maybe he applied a threat intelligence program in his company.
Or Joe Bob Billy.
I know, right?
Okay, it's the example I use at work. It's like, the normies are the Joe Bob Billies of the world. And
not Joe Bob Billy is Jake Williams. Because I took Jake's cyber threat intelligence class, like the SANS was a 578 CTI class. Mm-hmm. So I took that class and I won the CTF, right? And I finished it and I was like, I just fucking hate Yara. This is dumb. I'm never going to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm never going to put this on my resume. I'm never going to take the certification exam. I don't want to do this for a job. I love Jake to bits. So every time you say that, I'm just thinking of like Jake in a cowboy hat as my Joe Bob Billy. I'm gonna like text him in a minute and be like, guess what?
Stupid jar rules.
But it's a thing, right? Sometimes you take those courses and you're like, this was super fun. I never want to do this again. Like
Right.
the visual's fun. I love, yeah, it's always Fancy Bear or whoever. And like, but no, if anybody asked me what I learned in that class, like, yeah, it's always Fancy Bear. Like that's, I don't know, right?
Right.
But some of it just doesn't speak to you. Don't put that on your resume.
Right.
Don't put anything on your resume that you couldn't answer a question about. Okay, I have this story and I'll make it quick.
Oh my
right?
God.
But I interviewed this guy at NASA, right? So he comes in, and I know people are nervous because it's NASA, right? And you come in and we do it as a technical panel. And he had his skills on his resume, right? And you could tell he's nervous, he's just shaking. And so I'm like, I'm gonna throw a softball, right? And he's got rate array on his thing, right? So I'm like, oh, I'll pick an easy thing because he's going to work in the data center, right? So I'm like, okay, do you have a special RAID configuration you like? That seems easy, right? And he's like, what?
There are configurations?
No.
I'm like, RAID array. Like, do you what configuration do you like?
RAID 0.
Yeah. And he was like,
I like 5
that?
myself.
He was like, can I see that? And he looks, he's like, oh, that shouldn't be there. That was copied from a different one.
Oh, well, I appreciate your honesty.
So like, all right, also folks, when you copy resumes from the internet, delete the stuff you don't know about. Just delete that. Proofread your resumes, because if you copy your friend's resume and somebody asks you about something on it, you're going to be embarrassed and it's going to be bad. I felt so bad. And he just like took his resume and left the room. And I felt so bad. Like the guy beside me was like, well, that was harsh. I was like, I picked the easiest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how would you know, unless,
Right. So be prepared to answer a question. So that's one of the things we do in the Career Village is you give me your resume and I'm going to ask you questions about it. I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions, but I'm going to pick some things off your resume. Oh, tell me about this. I'm going to pick a job and be like, what did you like about this part of your role?
Okay, so
it's because I'm going to do to you exactly what a hiring manager is going to do to you. And
so I've seen hundreds of resumes, maybe thousands, I don't know. And there's a few that I get that say things like the whole resume helped with this, was a team member for this, and nothing they did was their own work.
Right.
It was like, okay, I've been carrying this stick of gum on the bottom of my shoe. Yes, it was part of my day, but did it really do anything? Right. That's what I think when I see a resume like that. Right.
There's a question.
I would say if you were part of a team that did something, you didn't really do it. Maybe you could focus on the things you did within that overall project. But, I was part of a project that ran a company or, created the internet. No. Okay.
Yeah.
So Bill asks an important question. How do neurodiverse folks ace a job interview? We don't. We don't.
Aren't we all?
We make sure that we can fill out every bullet in the job description. We go out and we get bachelor's degrees and CISPs and, make sure that we've got all the necessary bullets before we even attempt to apply for a job, which is probably why I'm not a CISO right now. And I see other people. See, one of the things that I actually, for those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with ADHD in the last year and a half, not even a year and a half, last like 6 months. And I realized, and my doctor told me this, it was like, you have skills that get you to a certain point in your career. And because of your ADHD, it's a superpower up until this point. And then once you get another job that you realize, oh shit, what got me here won't get me where I want to be, then you need a little help. And so I saw a lot of coworkers that I worked with, like, Mr. Betcher, Miss Berlin, who are now, big CISO types and whatever. And I'm like, wow, I'm just a fucking upper, lower, middle
I'm not a
manager right
CISO.
here. And
Let's get
oh,
that
I'm
out
sorry,
there.
executive VP, you've got gold-plated toilets in your house and shit. I don't know. But so, I'm seeing people that I used to work with at like Xerox and other companies, and they're like, CISOs and, starters and founders of fucking companies and shit. And I'm like, wow, I'm just an upper lower middle manager right now. So what the fuck is wrong with me? Is it me? Is it the fact that I can't interview properly? Is it I'm too scared shitless to go and, leave the company I'm at now and go do something, really, you know. So yeah, I don't know
Oh,
if
a bunch of a great
neurodiverse
startup, Brian.
I'm afraid neurodiverse people don't ace them. They do enough that they get hired. I don't. I could be wrong here, but it feels like, yeah, there's a lot that goes on there too. It's very stressful for me to do anything. As a matter of fact, my ass is sweating right now just talking about interviewing people. So, it is what it is. Ms. Bad, do you have any insights there? Am I wrong?
I struggle in interviews. Even, yeah, I do the thing where I just wait for somebody to tell me like they're just going to give me the job. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll talk to your founder. Like, that's how I get jobs now. Like, I just skip the interview process. Cause like,
That must be nice.
You don't want to put me through that. Cause I'm going to start talking about human centipede probably. So,
Those are the best interviews.
So here's the light at the end of the tunnel though. More and more companies are starting to understand that neurodiversity is just as much a part of diversity in the DEI as race, religion, sexual orientation, all the other beautiful things that make up a diverse workforce, right? So understanding that means that more and more hiring managers, recruiters, and people who are conducting interviews are receiving training on how to better understand what the interviewing process should look like to bring on folks who are neurodiverse. And that means asking questions in a way that give us space to breathe and answer, to understand that when we interrupt, we don't mean to interrupt. We're just like super excited to tell you that we understand, right. Or that we don't mean to like finish your question for you. We just like our brain's already just 4 steps ahead of you, right? And we might be wrong, and we're like super sorry. So that's why, unfortunately, the onus is still on folks, particularly like with the isms and the attention things, and like a lot of us are just like the ADD-isms, like we're just, because that's the thing, like super smart people, our brains just work really fast. And they used to just like call a lot of us hyperactive, but now there's just like a little more diagnoses attached to it. But whatever, right. We're just really fucking smart and our brains work really fast. It's a superpower. So the rest of the world's just got to catch up with that. Right. But I think there's hope, because I've been at companies where I've seen training happening for hiring managers to like recognize and understand that they have to like adapt the interview process. Now, here's where it gets tricky. They can only adapt if you disclose.
Right.
And it's how comfortable you feel with disclosing that you need to adapt.
Yeah.
For your particular brand of neurodiversity. So there's where we're at. I don't
Right.
know, right? Because then all of a sudden you're asking for an accommodation. How comfortable do you feel asking for an accommodation? Well, I I can't like answer that for you, right? We're still in like uncharted territory. Like it's, I don't know, in like a brave new world right now. So
Right.
that probably doesn't help you. I'm just, if I could say anything for like guidance or advice, I would say just like focus on your breathing in the interview. Just breathe and like take a beat before you answer a question and let the interviewer finish their question completely. Do a lot of those reflection statements. Like I think I heard you say, right? And then before the answer comes out of your mouth, like really like formulate it in your head before you say it out loud.
Right.
I think that takes practice.
It does take practice.
Yep.
Because like half the time it's a surprise to me what I'm going to say. So like,
Right.
it
Right.
does take practice, right?
Yep.
So, it just slow, deliberate, whatever, and so that's why like practice interviews, just get your friends to like just practice interviewing you, even if it's just like interview me about my dog, but just practicing some like back and forth. I swear to God, it really helps.
Yep. Yeah, the other thing I think is important there when you said to take a beat and whatever, it allows you to control the interview and the speed of the interview. If you're, if it's back and forth, bam, 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 all the time, they're going to ask you a lot of questions and they're going to be able to probe deeper into your resume. If you control the speed, if you don't have much control, but the control you do have is I can take a beat. I can think about the question. I can ask a follow-up question. I can ask a clarification question. I can control the cross-examination instead of me being on the witness stand all the time, being hammered by things. You can get your point across by making sure you have a fully formed thought by the time they answer your clarification question or what have you. But I think controlling the speed and what's going on in the interview does take a little time, but I think it helps in the long run. If you can control that, you come off as a better interview.
Yeah. And one of the things that really, really helps me stay, so I see this last Age of Music with the, tell you another thing about a train, it's hard to rein it in. So that, I feel you, I talk about my cats. The way that I rein it in is I keep a notebook and I will write down their question. And when I feel myself like squirreling, I like reread their question and it like gets me back on track. And and it also kind of forces me to take the beat because I'm writing the question. And then I kind of read the question back to them. I'm not really reading it back to them, but that's how I reflect back to them. Right. And I know it just seems like so much extra effort, but it's how we slow our trains down.
Right.
Like and Brian, what you said, I'd never really thought about that before, but if it's like have you seen that little soundbite where he's like, where do you live? Do you own your own place? How long have you lived there? Do you have a job? Where, right. Then that's how your interview's going. And oh my God, yeah, you're giving them a lot more information than you need to. Right. But if you could slow it down, then it becomes a more thoughtful discussion with you giving them that information.
Yep. And you taking notes in your own interview, will probably impress them as well. Being able to, or at least it'll be something that maybe they don't see, because usually somebody just comes in with a resume. They might have a notebook, but they won't open it. If you're actually jotting down notes, or like, hey, this guy's got really ugly shoes, or you could be just writing something, but just taking that beat, like you said, and slowing the pace of the interview down. You may have half an hour with these people. If you can get those things down. The other thing, and I will say this because I interviewed at my current place, there are certain ways they want the interview will go. There's a certain format, and the recruiters will tell you that it's like based on these things. And the idea is you're supposed to have examples of these things. It might be helpful when you're in an interview to have stories, specific anecdotes that, when somebody says, well, tell me about a problem that you had where, you realized you fucked up and, you needed to, make amends, or, what. Have an example of, some of those, like the questions that Ms. Batt added earlier in the stream about top cybersecurity questions. If there's anecdotes that you can tie to those things, and you get something similar to that, have something that you can call out. Like I called out, when we were Mr. Betcher and I were giving developers Burp Suite training, and it was like monkey touching monolith moment when they realized that we could intercept their web requests and change the password resets and stuff like that. They can't do that anymore. I'm pretty sure that technology is old, but, explaining to them and being able to educate our customers or our business partners on, that, and it's like, okay, this was a area where we educated, where we improved a process, where we improved the QA, where it was like we set up Burp with them and we walked them through that and we showed them how to do all that stuff. And having those anecdotes are helpful because you can burn 3 to 5 minutes there talking about that. And that's 3 to 5 minutes where they're not asking you a question or 5 questions or 10 questions. You've got that story that's applicable to the job you may have now or want now. And so having that 5 minutes is probably a bit long, but like 2 to 3 minutes of like summarizing something that happened in your career that's applicable to the job you want, I think is always helpful.
Tell stories.
Exactly.
I mean, people like stories. There's emotions involved. There's a plot, there's a conclusion.
Right.
So formulate answers to questions in the form of a story.
Right.
Not only does it take up more time, they can ask you follow-up questions to your story rather than just bam, 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 answer 100 questions during an interview and write this program.
Again, you're controlling the narrative. You're moving them down the line, and if they have a train problem too, they're gonna hey, let's go over here and let's talk about this. And then it's like 45 minutes in, and like, crap, I haven't asked any of my questions, and it's like, well, that's not my problem, bruh. So yeah.
I know folks, there's two schools of thought too about going back to like the note-taking thing. I digress about sending follow-up emails, but I'm a big fan of sending a follow-up email after an interview. I like that. I do it. I know a lot of folks, it's probably 50-50. I am team send a follow-up thank you email. And if you look back at your notes, if you took those little notes about the question, you can just say, I particularly enjoyed our conversation about, I don't know, IAM roles and whatever. Just pick a thing, just to remind them who you were, the thing you talked about. And I look forward to hearing from you again, best, blah, blah, blah. But thank them for their time. It's a polite thing to do. I'm team thank you notes all day long.
I think it's crazy that people that think it's a bad idea.
Right.
Like I can see, I'm not going to judge somebody on the fact that they didn't do it, but it is nice to get one. I think I would never be like, how dare they thank me for my time?
I mean, it's a thing, right? And I don't know if I have 2 candidates who score the same across the board, like if all their technical stuff lines up and their culture stuff number for number across the board, and there's no way to break the tie. One sent a thank you note and one didn't. Maybe the thank you note's the thing that pushes them over. Just saying. Send thank you notes, people.
Yep. It doesn't hurt.
It really doesn't.
I don't, like Amanda said, I don't get a thank you note and say, the hell?
Yeah. Yep. Just 2, 3.
That's funny because I've not gotten one in a very long time. I just went through like 7 interviews last week, and
I'll send you one.
Thanks. That'd be great. Thank you for this podcast tonight.
2 minutes to just thank someone for their time. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. The thing is, I wish it was reciprocal. Hey, recruiter sending an email. It doesn't take them long to say, hey, thanks for interviewing with us today. You're not who we are. It's not who we're looking for right now. Sorry. We're looking for somebody with another feature or something. My issue is I so want to, when I'm interviewing people, I so want to go, I want to tell you how you fucked up and why you're not going to get hired here. Please let me tell you. And then the lawyers are like, no, 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 no.
No, I don't ever want to tell anybody.
I mean, a lot of companies will give you feedback if you ask for it, though.
Okay.
California companies, I thought they would if you ask. Ooh, the other thing is they have to, a lot of states, check your states, they have to give you the salary bands if you ask, like in California.
Ohio's changing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure Ohio's changing to be more public than that stuff.
Just on the negotiation side, that's just a little side note there. But if they ask you how much money you're looking for, never tell them. Check yours before you even have that discussion. Check to see if your state requires them to tell you what the salary bands are.
Yeah. Tara Wheeler had a book, and was talking with her when I lived up in Seattle. One of the things that I got out of her book was like, do not tell them what you make now. Don't ever tell them what you make now. They go, hey, what are you making right now?
None of your business.
You can deflect that, and you can say, well, if they ask and they won't tell you, it'd be like, whatever the market allows, or whatever. There's ways to turn those conversations around. I think I'll try to find Tara's book on there, but it was all about negotiation and being able to negotiate your salary. But one of the things they said was, don't tell them what you're making, because that's going to be their starting point, right? If they can get you, if they can get you for $80,000 when the job range is 120 to 150, they've saved themselves $70,000. It was one of those eye-opening things. And one of the things I told them, I was like, I'd love to hear what your options are for your pay band, because this was back in the day. But it was like, and I also go to places like Glassdoor and whatever, and see if I can find applicable jobs on LinkedIn and Monster and whatever for similar jobs in other organizations in that state, maybe, to see if they have a pay band. And I'm like, I'm looking for what the market is going to allow for what you have budgeted, and my pay that I'm getting paid now is not what is there. And I don't know, probably where I work where I am now.
If your state requires them to tell you the range, that's even better, because then when they ask you what you're looking for, you can say, oh, I see that the range for this position is 80 to 120, and I'll be looking for closer to the higher end of that range.
That's good.
And then
that's real good.
Leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
So
very good.
But I love that states are starting to require.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, California.
We try. So one of the last things I think we want to talk about, we're getting to the hour and a half mark here. This is going to be multiple audio podcast episode podcast like normal, but one of the things I said at the beginning of this show was, what can we do as people who are currently hired and working and so far not laid off can do to help get over these 4 million job shortages and whatever. And we need to rewrite job descriptions. And I don't know if that's an easy job, but it seems like something that people have some control over, or they could go to their management and go, look, this doesn't make any sense. Because my idea with job descriptions is I'm supposed to be able to do all of the things in that job. Or, I've interviewed with people where I've had a network, I've had a network into that job, and they said, oh yeah, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about that. We're not doing that anymore. And I'm like, well, then why isn't it a fucking job description? Do I need to understand what an SGI Unix system does, or do I need to know what this system? No, we haven't had that for years. It's gone. It's like, well, then why aren't you changing the job descriptions? It feels like a thing right along when you're doing all your policies, processes, and procedures every year. Hey, do the job descriptions still make sense? Go in and look at those and review those, at least for your job, because it's like, well, if I don't even qualify for my own job, how the hell did I get hired here? So don't laugh at that, Amanda. That's not funny. I'm not qualified for the job I have. No, I'm just kidding. But it just seems like something that we can do as people. Bring it up to your management. Say, hey, if we're going to be hiring in the next few months, maybe it would be a good idea to, get, Solaris 10 off of our job descriptions, because we don't have any more Solaris 10 boxes. Or, hey, you want 8 years of AI experience. There's not 8 years of AI out there, that kind of thing. So make them more realistic. Get rid of. I
don't know how I got hired.
Well, it's.
I did a talk on this a couple years ago about job descriptions specifically, like, but it was related to improving like DEI initiatives in the workplace, because I banked it, like it was specifically related to like an article I read in Forbes about how like men would apply to jobs if they only met like 10% of the requirements, but women would only apply if they met like 95% of the requirements. Like they did a survey of like 1,000 people or something. But there were like simple changes you could make to your job description that changed things. Like, so instead of listing Java and Python and, you know, SQL, if you just change the words and to or, it would like increase the number of applicants. And right. And then there were so it was like minor changes. I don't know. And there were ways that you could just I don't know. It was I'll send you the deck, Brian.
Cool.
Or at least that one slide about minor language changes that.
Cool. Yeah. Job descriptions. Yeah, when I was working at Leviathan, one of the things we did was we changed them up because the DE&I stuff, it was like, get rid of the the requirements for certifications, because we'd all sit around the table and everybody's like, Brian's got a CISP, he doesn't really know security, he just, he's a manager or whatever. And I was like, okay, then why are we asking for that in the job descriptions?
So there was things too about college degree or relevant experience.
Relevant, yeah, exactly.
To letting them replace, or certification, or like willingness to achieve certification on the job, right? And like, so I mean, there are ways that employers can support people. Like if we understand that, especially if we have clients that are, for whatever reason, they have got compliance checkboxes that are going to require certifications, but then we could support employees for their own personal development growth to get those certifications. It's like a win-win. Then our clients get what they need to check their boxes, and we're helping employees like jump through these hoops, but then also help with their professional development and their personal growth. I don't know. I think like if we think of it more as like my talk was called "It Takes a Village." So it was like, I
remember that
we
one.
grow together, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a pipe dream though, until you know what? I'm not gonna like shit all over corporations right now, because then you'll know how I really feel.
Yeah.
Corporations who give us health insurance and pay our bills. Yay.
One day we'll have our insurance decoupled from our employment, but we can all live one day. But the other thing is those job descriptions, you can actually put that down as an accomplishment on your resume, or if you want to know you're moving into management, that would be something that a manager would or should do. So you can always, add that as value to your organization, because if you can help streamline hiring, like, if you can cut the amount of time it takes to hire someone from 2 months to a month, and they're better qualified or they're actually a better fit than what, some of the recruiters, and we're going to have a recruiter on. I've actually got Mr. Noyd who hooked me up with somebody. We're going to talk about some of that stuff. I've tried to actually get recruiters to come on and talk about hiring. And I've been ghosted by 2, which is weird. It's probably what they do to job applicants. And another one said they can't talk about internal processes. So I've got this person who on the hook right now, and hopefully we'll have them on in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I think it would help everybody in the long run if like Ms. Berlin said, it takes 4 months for, the pipeline, or 6 months for some folks. It's like, if you can hire smarter, you can hire quicker, and you can get a probably better qualified person, and so, so yeah. Is there anything
I'll
else
say
you
real
want?
quick, I'm not affiliated with this company at all. But in organizations that I've worked with, we've seen really good results with an application called Textio, and it scans job descriptions for like biased language and just kind of helps you clean those up to attract candidates from a more diverse community. The Textio, it's not free, but for any hiring organizations watching, you can afford it. Just do it.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Yeah. Miss Berlin, Miss Betcher, anything else? Anything else from our chat? Once, twice, thrice, as my boss at work says. Okay. So Ms. Bat and then Miss Berlin, how would people find you if they wanted to, get online and talk about job stuff, or other, anything else they want to talk about? Maybe information security in a manner. So there you go. She's putting them in the chat. Twitter.com/MsBat, infosec.exchange @MsBat. Very cool.
Oh, it's X now. That shows you how much I give a shit about that one. Find me on Mastodon.
Mastodon?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm on LinkedIn. The same thing, Ms. Bat, instead of Amanda Berlin.
Okay.
Oh my God. She already put I'll do the right thing.
She copy pastes. Yeah, she's mad on the copy pasting.
I just always have LinkedIn up now. I used to have
Yep.
a pinned tab for Twitter, and that's gone now.
I
Yep.
just God, social media.
There we go. That's all of ours.
Oh, here's mine. Watch
Yep.
me.
It'll be in the chat on the VOD as well.
I
So
do technology.
there you go. Yep.
Pretty good at-
Cool. Mr. Betcher, how about you? Where would people find you? Are you on LinkedIn?
Oh,
Are you on the LinkedIn's? Call you? Okay.
Oh, look, mine's not found.
I think you got to have an IN, and then
My God.
yeah, it's all good. You
I
can
think
just do a search for
I
Ms.
figure it
Bat.
out.
So
Yeah.
yeah, have them do a little OSINT. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Pat Carter.
Very nice. Yep. And you'll be at Pancakes Con. Are you going to be anywhere else? You're going to be in a B-side San Diego is doing a career village as well. I'm trying to figure out what that's all about.
I'm speaking at CypherCon in April. I'm going to talk about scanners and S-bombs and why all that's all fucked up. So
Okay.
Yeah.
CypherCon is
phone management and why it just sucks.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, it'll be, I don't know. We're going to see, but I'm going to relate it to the Wizard of Oz. We're going to see what happens.
Okay. Right on. And it's April 4th and 5th, Thursday and a Friday.
Here, wait, I've got a link to that probably. I probably do have a link to that. Kill time for 30 seconds.
Okay.
I don't know what to talk about. My
My
stomach right now sounds like a bubbling kettle. I don't know why. It's like whales. I'm very surprised you can't hear it.
It's like Star Trek 4. Yeah. There'd be
Yes.
whales here. Yeah. Yeah. My ass hurts. I ran a 10K today in an hour. So it's my first 10K ever.
Here's my top.
Inspired by Miss Berlin. Oh, okay.
I'm not running though. I'm just chasing Matt on a bike. He's
Well,
running.
I'm just trying to
chasing.
run a little faster than the Reaper at this point. So, I'm running about 5 miles an hour and the Reaper's running about 4.8. So, I got to keep myself healthy. So, but yeah. Cool. Okay. CypherCon, Pancakes Con, and other good cons near you. We'll see about Vegas. There's been some word out of DEF CON that Caesars has canceled their contract, so they're trying to figure out what they're planning on doing with that after 25
Might
years.
for real be canceled.
Yeah. Well, I
My
wonder
shirt
if
might finally be real.
yeah, I'm wondering if last year's cancellation of DEF CON Saturday night was something that been like, okay, yeah, I'm not saying it is. It's really weird how that just happened and all of a sudden this happens. So
No, you just committed to it. You heard it here, folks.
oh
Brian
crap,
Ray just broke the news.
crap. But yeah, now
just edit that out.
Las Vegas Convention Center. Okay, wow. All right. Well, we'll see.
There's an awesome conference called AID 2024 at Marshall University.
Neat.
I've never heard of it. Marshall? Where's this at? This is I don't.
The Midwest.
Huh? Yeah, I've never heard of Midwest, Wisconsin.
Yes.
West Virginia is in the Midwest.
Sure.
Oh, so they have a new venue.
Mid East. I don't know. Middle. They don't like you. They don't like it when you say Middle East.
It's the Middle East.
Where's the convention center? I don't know where that convention.
LA Convention Center. I want to say it's next to the LA Convention Center.
No, Las Vegas Convention Center.
Yeah, Las Vegas Convention Center. I want to say it's near the airport or near the Allegiant Stadium. It's
Okay.
convention
Let's
center.
just all meet near the Hollywood sign.
There you go. There you go. I don't know where that is. That's not it. I don't think. Las Vegas VCC Central. No, this is not it. Yeah, so yeah, I'm sure they'll have more information come out about it. But there's the post on Twitter for it. If you want to keep an eye on that, I'm sure that'll be the new hotness for drama this week. And Bad Caesar, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, one other thing. Yeah, no problem. And so yeah, thanks for everybody for coming. Just want to say thanks to Miss Bretcher and Miss Berlin for accommodating us 2 weeks in a row. Next week's the big game. I can't say the words because it's not licensed by the NFL, so it's the big game. So thank you for accommodating that. And the last thing I want to say is if you're looking for a job, don't feel like you are a failure if you can't find a job. I've had a lot of friends of mine who questioned if they're actually good at what they're currently doing because they have had several hundred either ghostings or immediate rejections. So, there's a job for you out there. You just need to, I don't want to say look harder, but it's, that's an awful way of saying something. Yeah. There's a job out there for you in a company that wants you. And would just, lean on some of your friends and ask a friend, talk to somebody. Yeah. Use Reddit, blast it out on LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter. That sounds like the new hotness now. So, but just think about that. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Yes. Don't give up. Exactly. Bill. Exactly. Don't give up. So, take care of yourselves, be kind to one another, stay safe and stay dry and stay warm if you can, and take care of yourself because as we're fond of saying, you're the only you have. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.